Awesome. So I think we have until around noonish to talk about our next topic, which is fragmentation in the ecosystem. I'm Andrew, by the way, from the Flutter team.
I'm Lucas, co-founder of Widgetbook.
And I thought this was an interesting session because fragmentation as a term can mean several different things, right? We could be talking about how many packages are going after the same sort of experience or the same sort of problem. We could talk about how package development is working and are people able to work cohesively and or do we see folks a little bit reluctant maybe to reach out to a package author and suggest changes and things like that. It can mean a lot of different things. And so one of the first questions I have is, when you hear that term fragmentation, what are some of the things that come to mind in your life as package maintainers? Oh, got a hand already.
Package location and package geolocator.
So these are two GPS packages, right?
Yeah, and they do exactly the same thing, except the location is less maintained. I'm its maintainer, but I...
that is incredibly brave of you to say that, by the way.
I'm not its original creator. I just kind of inherited it from the guy who did not maintain it for a longer time. So I just, made it work again. But honestly, I'm thinking, I think it's a perfect example of fragmentation and redundant work being done by many entities on the same problem. So I feel like about archiving it and telling everyone to just use geolocator by Baseflow. And I'm sure there are more cases like this in the ecosystem where work is duplicated by, that's it.
There are some packages that, for example, in plugin world, UI plugins, that you have some package that does it with Dart and package that does it with native stuff. So, for example, you have something like, PDF viewer, Flutter PDF, Flutter PDF plugin, PDF viewer plugin, stuff like that. And for example, half of them is using native a way to show the PDF and half of them is rendering them, for example, in Dart. So this is also a common case with fragmentation, that you have this sort of packages that do it the native way and with the interop and the Dart native way, right?
So fragmentation is something usually considered as a bad thing, but I don't see necessarily as a bad thing because, for example, the package I'm maintaining, there's an alternative package and it says it's inspired by my package. I'm honored, so we're not competing. But I think when there are many opinions, many senior developers trying to contribute, it is really causing the fragmentation inside the package. So I really think that there should be a vision in one package, and the less people are in I think it's better. And if there's an alternative, and if they have a different vision, and they can, for example, support other things. For example, I have my roadmap, which is aligned with my sponsor. So, and I'm very happy with this fragmentation because some other people, when they ask me a feature, I can tell them that, hey, you can use this feature because this is not coming soon. Yeah. So I just want to say that, is it really a bad thing? That's the question.
I see it as an example here. So we have plus plugins, and then we have plus plugin extended, which someone tried to send a PR not to our main repository, but they decided to fork and do something else, like simply fix a bug and then publish it again. And I feel like this is a fragmentation, which is very unnecessary. But I also agree with you that it's not a bad thing. It's like we have, if we have 40,000 packages, probably half of them are state management in pub.dev, which is probably okay. So it's not a bad thing, but the unnecessary fragmentation, I believe, like the one that I mentioned, it's a bad thing. So we should focus on, I say as not all of us, but something that we need to address probably, like to encourage people instead of publishing. There is an active package maintainer, they're fixing everything, so it's a little bit slow maybe. So not within a day the PR is merged, but maybe within a month, but don't publish a package. Something that maybe we should negotiate or communicate better with the community.
So in one case, I can give you a good example of why maybe fragmentation sometimes is necessary, especially with the Plus plugins, is that we have Share Plus. And when you share content to a Facebook app, it doesn't work as the standard way. So we get a lot of people asking us to implement the way to share content to Facebook. And we say, no, we're not going to add this to the plugin. Because we say, look, Facebook is doing things wrong, and it's not our fault. And we, in my philosophy, is that we should expose the native APIs for you to use the native APIs as they are supposed to be used. No, and like if you need to do a weird call to like share content to like WhatsApp, to like be able to share an image and text, create a package for that. Sorry, it's not gonna be like the Share Plus. At least that's the philosophy of like me and the other maintainer we're having at the moment. But I don't know. Maybe you think it is a bad fragmentation. So I would like to hear from you what you think.
Yeah, so given the first people that already shared their opinions here, what I think is quite crucial here to actually prevent what Majid framed as unnecessary fragmentation is actually alignment of interest among those contributors and communication. So Chatai, for example, I mentioned, hey, sharing a vision for the package. I think that's quite key because in the end, everyone that is using your package doesn't really know what is on the roadmap, what is coming there, what can be expected. Do I need to in the future investigate more and in the end invest my time in providing more features that I need, or is it coming quite soon? So I think having a way of easily outlining what is planned is quite crucial, and then also to actually reach out to the package maintainers. And for example, in the first example that Bartek shared, where you have a geolocation and another package there as well. For example, Bartek, question for you then: has there any communication happened among those two packages, or same for Majid, same for Chatai? Because for me, for example, with Widgetbook, we are providing a storybook solution for Flutter. There are also two other packages, and we've, for example, been constantly in touch and just shared the experiences that we had, and that I think helped all three packages.
I'm plan to text like the original maintainer of the package I want to deprecate right now. I will do this communication because actually I realized it's like also a fault on my side that I didn't do it before.
I want to ask some questions from you and also kind of share my experience with kind of Gen package. So my question is, the whole Facebook thing, of course, I don't know exactly how that is, but is it like possible for the second package to come in and like add this feature to your existing package? Like, say if you're like exposing some sort of an interface that could be implemented by said second package, it's easier to people then can still use your package, but then add this thing on that you don't personally want to maintain?
So all the packages on Plus plugins have a platform interface, which just exposes an interface and not an implementation. I believe you could like have your own Android implementation replacing ours and using the same API, let's say. So I would say that will be possible. In this case, I don't know, it's completely different what you have to do now to support, but in general, all the Plus plugins projects have this platform interface package, which is separated to the implementations, and that you can just overwrite one implementation if you want to.
I see. So that is like more of the federated plugin system with the different, yeah. So what I think is possible to kind of reduce this fragmentation in case like you don't envision maintaining some parts, or maybe it's not even possible to maintain all parts, and I will give you an example, is to kind of communicate with the person trying to ask you for that like a specific feature, and maybe come to some common terms in terms of like exposing certain interfaces that like customize the way that the original package is used. So then they can still depend on your still depend on the on a shared kind of interface, but implement that or maybe maybe the original thing gets some sort of an optional list of possible features that can be added to it, right? Like, of course, this is different for every package. But for example, for JNI Gen 1 and also for FFI Gen 1, thing that we are planning to do is to expose a transformation layer, because you don't want to generate some code and then manually change it, right? That's difficult, because if we change the underlying generated code, then all of your manual changes will be gone. So it's nice to expose some sort of an interface so that if someone wants to generate code but in a custom way, they can still do it. That can be shipped as a separate package, which still depends on that kind of common interface. And then you don't have that fragmentation. Still, kind of everyone is getting benefits from the shared updates, and they get the benefits of like the customization. So when that is possible, of course, it's not always, that's a possible direction to go.
I love these brief moments of contemplation as the microphone is passed.
Yeah, people will be coming up with good next questions. So I couldn't let this session go without a little bit of a plea about supply chain security. And I think people have already got mechanisms to distinguish between packages with things like pub points and the various badges that they would have in their GitHub README that are going to find their way into that kind of pub dev front of shop. Now, the Dart and Flutter team have been putting substantial effort into supply chain security with things like Scorecard and Salsa. And with tools like Sift, we can now generate software bill of materials very straightforwardly for Dart packages as well. And so I think something that all of us as package maintainers could start doing is putting scorecards and SBOMs into our packages. And something that could be considered is awarding pub points for those as well, so that I think 10 pub points each for maybe those things, taking the total up to out of 180 would be another way to help people distinguish between this is a package from somebody that genuinely cares about their software craftsmanship, and that you're going to be able to depend on as part of what you're putting together and putting in front of your customers.
Hey, sorry, quick question, completely off topic. Has anybody accidentally taken a bag that was in this chair right in here? I'm looking for my bag. Sorry. It's like this Flutter bag that... okay. Thanks.
Let's not fragment each other's bags.
Now I need to find mine.
I suddenly realized I don't know where mine is.
Everywhere. Okay, go on.
I was just thinking about what was being said about compatibility there and what you can do. Something that's always missing from a lot of packages. I call it hook points, but places where you can override behavior. So just the way that you build your code in your library. I mean, if you build it like an app, you're doing it wrong, because you're building that as a tight, constrained environment. It relies on itself. Where if you're building a library or a framework, you're building it to be used. And so there should be the thoughts around dependency injection, the way that you build your library to allow people to override, to implement versions of classes and change the behavior. Obviously, that's not maintained by you. That's, as long as you're maintaining the fact that they can be overridden or replacements can be used, then that's just enough to allow it to be flexible enough to be less fragmented in terms of people can then override the behavior locally in their application rather than modifying the library and publishing a new package, right?
I wanted to point out two things. One, to the score that you mentioned. So again, what Çağatay said about the having multiple packages is not necessarily a bad thing. I believe it's also a good thing, to be honest. It shows that community is vibrant still. We are very active. A lot of people are using. So if you look at NPM, they have 1 million packages. Are they all used? No, of course not. But it shows that it's a big ecosystem. And I think it's a good thing for us. However, it's a good point that if we can increase the bar for quality packages. So it doesn't matter if we have 100 state management package, but if maintainers are, as you said, pretty active, the bar should be very high to get there. And I think it's pretty okay if Dart team and Pop team try to enforce that somehow. One thing. And another thing I wanted to say is about the packages that are favorite. So I think generally this could be a problem, but it's always is my question for you is that we have some favorite packages. What if another package comes and it does the same thing and it's perfect as the previous one, which is favorite? How do you want to not to recognize that one as a favorite?
I can talk briefly about Flutter favorites. And is now leading the charge on that, but we've been doing rounds. And so if you don't know, Flutter favorites, it's part of the ecosystem committee job to recognize packages that are being used. And also the community can put forward packages for recommendation for Flutter favorites. And then there's a whole set of criteria that we go through, and it gets code reviewed and several other things, not just by us, by members of Google and the Flutter or Dart team to actually give it that badge, right? That badge has to be earned. It has. The idea is you have to maintain that quality level of the package. If something comes along, not necessarily a fork, but if something comes along better and it's being recommended, then it's going to be put forward as a Flutter favorite. And if someone doesn't maintain their current product, their current package, it will be removed as a Flutter favorite. We haven't yet done that, but it is part of the remit to go back and check Flutter favorite packages and validate them again. And if they're not being maintained, we give them an option to maintain it, obviously. If it's not being maintained, it will lose its favorite status.
Yeah, perfect. But let's say now we have two packages. They're both maintained. They're both perfect. One is from very well-known community member, and another one is from someone that we don't know yet, but we're knowing that they're doing a good package. So are you going to nominate both, keep them both in favorite? So this is a fragment.
We haven't had that problem yet.
So yes, well.
I think part of that would be similar to everything, right? We'll need to evaluate how and to evolve the program itself, right? It's not a static thing. So as Simon said, we haven't seen that specific problem, but I'll give you another example that comes up is we've been asked about, well, how should we think about it for packages such as payments, right, that have an added level of security criteria or another? Should we have a specific category for that? So there's all these dimensions that we've talked about, and then we'd want to evolve the program itself. And then the other thing I would say as well is I've had a question about the word favorites, right? So are we really signifying favorites or are we signifying quality? In which case, if it's quality, is having multiple quality packages an issue or not?
I think the favorite is actually associated to quality for at least users. So
we
need that the user start using the favorite one. If you see two packages are the same, at least that's what I've seen in community.
I mean, on 2 points there. One was we've been charged with this kind of behavior of a community member builds a plugin for an existing product by someone else, right? So let's say Wiredash, sure. Let's say you've got a plugin that's already been built for Android, iOS. A community member builds that, and then the official maintainer of that let's say payments provider, let's say I know Stripe, let's say Stripe, right? So there's a community Stripe package, and then Stripe come along and go, we don't like that one, we want to build our own one. I mean, we've already made that a Flutter favorite, then we're going to make that one probably also a Flutter favorite if they meet the criteria. There's no like favoritism going on here in terms of one over the other, but equally, obviously, most people are probably going to choose the official one from the official provider, but that's where the Dart publishing stuff comes in, right? Publishers. So.
Hi, I'm Angelus. I'm also maintaining some fun stuff. I think when talking about fragmentation, we should look at the essence or the roots where these start. I think one of the problems why even the fragmentation appears in the first end is discoverability of the packages. So ironically, PubDev, even though it's a product of Google, it has one of the worst search engines when you try to find a specific package. Yeah, actually, when you are trying to, so usually how it ends up is the package that has the best and most specific name for a package actually is the one that is like pops up at the very top. And usually if you look at that, there are even packages who only like reserves a keyword and the package is empty, but just because you cannot delete them, they just stays there. So meaning...
You can report those, by the way. That is actually against the rules of pub.dev.
Okay, good to know. But yeah, so yeah, actually that's one of the problems. Let's say if you want to like, okay, you want to use something specific for your, we can use the same example for location, right? So you usually, if you want package for that, you type in location, but if the package has a different name or some funny name or just something unrelated, usually that's just not discovered. I think it was partially resolved by using topics for packages, but that's not all maintainers actually do that, unfortunately, and also, you know, it just more of a workaround rather than a solution for this problem.
I was just going to mention topics. If those that don't know, you can add topics to your PubSpec YAML, and then those will be highlighted and grouped together on pub.dev.
So I was also going to mention topics, but then I came to, but then you obviously mentioned it. But something that I see a lot, I work very closely with the PubDev team because I do a lot of work there too, is that it's not really communicated anywhere what new features that pop up on PubDev. Like nobody knew about the topics. And did you know that there's now a way to do automated releases of packages? So that it's just like a month old. And yeah, so I don't know, it would be nice with a little, maybe directly on the PubDev site to see the new features that we can use as package maintainers, because I think the topics one is quite good to reduce fragmentation. No, luckily not.
It's interesting because this topic thing is really a great idea, but I've been developing package for 1 year. I have never heard about it, and that's a question why I have never heard about it. Yeah, is it me, or I don't know if it's not visible enough? Okay. Okay. What I wanted to add, maybe it's not about fragmentation that much, but also like if package is a favorite, I would like to know what makes it favorite, so that, for example, there are some competitions like from Apple side, the best design, but also like the best documentation or everything. So for example, there was some people asking me, hey, you have a great documentation. Do you have any suggestion? Maybe like we can have some categories like a favorite package, but the best documentation because it's favorite, also best testing so that I can copy their testing strategies. So because you're evaluating different aspects, that means that they are good, so that there is a starting point for us how can make it better. So categories, not only favorite, but categories of why it's favorite.
Sure, we do. I don't know if you know, we do have some where we mention all the criteria that we evaluate. Have you seen that? Yeah. For favorites? Okay. So so I understand what you're asking. You're saying that then further we should call out specific top of some given criteria. Is that what you're saying?
So for example, if I want to understand how I can make a better documentation, I go to Flex Color Scheme because it's not only favorite, but the documentation shines. And like there are other packages that can shine, for example, from testing point. They see, okay, or documentation from, okay, so different aspects that are really good examples among the favorites.
Got it. Okay, I think that's a good point. I think the current version of it is, I would hope the bar is high enough on all those factors for any favorite. So if you look at any favorite and any aspect of that, it should be a good example, because we do evaluate all of those for every favorites. So, but point taken to see if that we can have maybe even further. Hey, if you want an example of great documentation testing, is that whether it should be a favorite specific thing is something else, I think. Okay.
And I think what would also help, I mean, Shata had the first question there, what actually, like how do I qualify as a Flutter favorite package? I mean, Simon, you also already described that it's mostly a community initiative so that you have regular meetings, but at least I don't know, like, when are these meetings hosted? How many packages do you evaluate then? Have you, for example, already evaluated a certain package? Did you in the end decide, okay, it's not ready yet, but do you then communicate to those authors what is still missing?
It's been a while since we've had a couple of rounds of voting. There's a whole committee that goes into this. There's a page on flutter.dev for Flutter favorites which lists the criteria, and it does evolve. Maybe there is some sort of way we can publish statistics or go further with that, but it is very subjective, a lot of it, and we're learning as we go and improving. Yeah, I mean, I'd just say put forward packages, but anyone that does, any package that does get put forward does get communicated. And if we think they can reach the bar, then we actually work with them to improve their packages. And we say that, oh, you need to go add tags to your repo for each of your versions so that people can go find the particular version. Your documentation is lacking. You need to improve your documentation. Here's some recommendations how you can do that. We do walk through. Basically, the way it works, it is described on the website, but when a package is put forward, the committee groups together, does discussion and voting, and then a package will be championed, or several packages will be championed by one of the committee members. We'll reach out to them as their Flutter champion, is the idea, and walk them through the process. And if they're responsive and they're walking through, then and the changes are made in time for a release of favorites, so we normally group them together. Then it'll be made a Flutter favorite if it meets the criteria, and then it will go out into the next scheduled release of favorites.
Yeah, to address the cadence of it, it has been pretty ad hoc so far. One of the things we're looking to do is, especially with everybody being more busy, one thing I've been looking at is how much can we automate one of the parts that are not as subjective, and then to what degree can we shorten the loop, because there's some part of it where we are accessing very specific criteria, right? So perhaps we give a self-service way for you to get back an immediate set of feedback before the other criteria. I think we were going through a phase where, as Simon was saying, learning as we go, but I think we have a good baseline now to potentially have an initial self-service. These are the things, this is where you are, these are the gaps, and you don't have to wait for a whole cycle.
I was just going to mention we have actually been working on tooling as we've been going to actually determine what, run the panel score, run the tests automated and kind of get feedback, and it's quite complicated.
Let's go, Matthias first.
Yeah, I think that it would be really, really great if we just knew if it was already reviewed or not. Because like for us, for example, we filed for favorites with Patrol like a year ago or something, and it's not, I'm not like hurrying you up or anything. It's like just if we knew that there's something wrong or it's been already reviewed or something, then we will just know that we have to fix something or stuff like that. And the worst state is where you don't know anything. If you should, because also on the other hand, we don't want to, push people from the community. So we don't know if you should send a follow-up email or not, or you should hurry someone that I don't know what actually is happening right now. That's only the thing about communication.
So on this point, just want to be clear, Chris Sells was heading up the committee at the time. We were doing regular meetings, and then when Chris Sells left the team, it kind of got a bit ad hoc. So anything that has been submitted will be reviewed, and we will get back to you, but in time.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll have a backlog that I need to get back to you all. So yes, I've seen a specific package as well as a bunch of others. We just haven't had a review in a while. We do get feedback. It's just been not set in regular. So we'll fix that.
Just want to quickly add to that nomination part. So just a crazy idea, maybe it's not really scalable, but if it would be very nice, those packages that are not favorite have a like some kind of button or something on pub.dev that people publicly can say, as this is actually a good package, can be a favorite, like by other people, like inclusive by everyone, you know, and then suddenly like a lot of yeah, but likes are not really like a measurement, right? So it could be something for that, like as a nomination.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something about the communication point, like you, for example, having questions like about the status there, or what we discussed earlier with like communicating with other package authors. Like in the Dart ecosystem team, we are thinking about like how can we improve communication like of the Google team with the community, of the community with each other. I think like Flutter has an active Discord channel, and yeah, and we're just thinking about like other like ways or what ways we should have of reaching out or communicating. So if you have any great ideas there, like if we should have a sort of forum for Dart, or if we you just prefer an email list where all package authors are automatically added and spam or not. Yeah,
there is a package channel on the Discord channel as well, specifically for that reason. So if you're not on it, that's also a great venue. And by the way, it's not just conversation with packages. We try as much as possible to have even some of the team's conversations happen up there, so there's visibility of what's going on in our plans.
Actually, you mentioned email. I don't know if it's right now on pub. Maybe it is. So sorry, but it would be great because if you are a package uploader, you have to add some email somewhere. So it would be great if there are any changes to pub, then all of the emails from the packages should get an email about it, so that you would know about topics. So it would be great.
Yeah, Jonas has to say about yeah, that one. I just want to say.
Subscribe to get information about new features.
I mean, like if you are already an uploader, and if you already have an email, because you are, I don't know, verified. If you are like verified, I don't know if you have to be verified or not, but you have to have an email about like your package. Then you already have, like, we already submitted the email. We already agreed on telling us that pub changes, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like...
There's a lot of people who have published to pub over the years. I'm not sure we want to send email to all of them.
About that topics are created? I think, yes. You want to do that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we do. Maybe we should, yeah.
I just want to add that I think like we, as a Dart team, we're not really good at communicating changes in general. Like we should find ways. I think the Flutter team is way better at this. Maybe because we don't. Do we have DevRel people on Dart?
That's how we communicate. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like the Dart team in general can do a better job there. Like we.
Than under-communicate.
Well, yeah, I don't know about the email spam thing, but
Okay. So when you're a Flutter GD, you're also Dart GD sometimes. So GDs can also help spreading this kind of information. We can give talks about in conferences.
Question about that. Do folks follow the emails, the release emails?
Yes.
Okay. Does everybody not see the ecosystem specific email that went out, because topics was part of that email? And again, I say this to try and see how could we do better, but I worked with the ecosystem team, I worked with our Flutter team, and put together an actual email update specifically for the package ecosystem. So, but if that didn't sort of rise, and we need to find another mechanism to do that, maybe a blog post. Sorry? When was that? Where or when? Okay, so they're in a problem. Yeah, yeah. So who saw it? Because again, I'm trying to see if there's a way we should fix this.
About packages, about the topics, yes, I saw that, for example, and also the one about images, and that came out some time ago as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I should probably share it on Twitter, yeah. So yeah, okay, this got into a very interesting discussion about Flutter favorites, but I wanted to take us back a little bit to the fragmentation topic maybe, about on the ecosystem. And one thing that I personally found challenging when I started using Flutter, well, 5-6 years ago probably, but anyway, but there's still a lot of packages that you have to make decisions when you start as a new developer, and what should I use, how should I get started, and all this. So you get into the situation of indecision, that there is so many things that I want to try, and what would work for me, and what is best. And that is perhaps an area where the large fragmentation can be a challenge.
Did you give this to me to say something specific?
Oh no, as a facilitator, yes.
Okay.
So what I was saying is that I will do the floating mic.
Okay.
You all shall hang on to your mic.
That's what I wanted to show you. Just giving it back in case I needed it. Thank you so much. Since I'm holding this, by the way, we DevRel team covers both Dart and Flutter, so we do have Dart DevRel. We don't have a specific person that just does Dart, but yeah. Had we but head count enough in time.
Yeah, so about the fragmentation, I think I personally, and this is not coming like this, my own opinion, disclaimer, not coming from Google or anything, but I don't think the way that we've been like making some decisions with regards to libraries are quite perfect in the Flutter docs, at least, right? Like, so for example, in state management, we have like a page that just lists like 20 different solutions. Like, for example, like there is a lot of like controversy. I remember this from like before joining Google. I made the same decisions. I used to work at my own startup as the CTO, and there, like, I had to kind of decide where the things that I want to use, like, or my team should use, and like the Flutter documentation doesn't really help there, right? It just gives you like just a list of the packages. I mean, I can Google that. Thank you. So I think we can be a little bit more opinionated about it, because otherwise, what is the page even for? If we want to be completely the opposite way of like saying, hey, for example, for state management, just use inherited widget, let's say that. Or like if it's provider, just because it's like, it just uses inherited widget, but it's just like a wrapper around that, then let's just say that. And then still people can choose to use any other state management solution. But I think by like listing 20 things, not only we are not helping, we are like deterring people. Like it's like we are just making the choice much harder. Yeah, so that is my.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Probably some of the things should be more opinionated in the Flutter and Dart documentation. That okay, this is our opinion about things. That's what we recommend when you start, and as you have got comfortable with it, you can explore other venues. One of the things that I also did when that probably many of you have seen is this top 30 charts on Twitter that I publish every now and then about state management and navigation. So they started a simple list with just the number of likes and etc. Then I started adding more things like different scorecards to it and red and green colors about how the documentation is and what kind of scores it has there. So now it's like a red, green, orange scorecards as well on it, so you can see there a little bit. So I do this for the state management, and there's like 30 packages, more than 30, and navigation package is similar as well. So there's a lot of them. And I did this originally sort of as an idea to give myself some insight into what exists. And then I started sharing it and been updating it every now and then. But it's just an example of where there is a very large fragmentation. And it's understandable, but of course it helps when Google then comes out and recommends that, okay, which the favor it kind of does for these two areas, at least in that sense as well.
Oh, cool. Sorry, I was going to try and seize control here for two reasons. One is that it's noon, which is I think about when we need to wrap up. And the other was to say I agree with you. We avoided being opinionated on a lot of things for a long time because we didn't want to stifle innovation in the community. We wanted people to feel like if they were trying something different than what they saw on the website, it wasn't wrong necessarily. But we made a conscious decision at the beginning of this year to get comfortable expressing opinions. And we actually have two projects that are going on right now in that vein. One is a new first week experience. I doubt y'all have gone back to the getting started part of the Flutter website in a while, but there's a learn more page that used to be the, actually still is the ending page of that, where we list a bunch of things and basically say, here's a bunch of things you can try, go have an adventure, and that was sort of what we did. We are now working on, and the first version of this is landing now, a more extended learning experience where here are the fundamental concepts that you need to know, and we're being more opinionated as we do that. The other one, we just sort of got the shovels in the dirt on this, is an architectural guide, which people have been asking for a long time. So if you're a tech lead somewhere and you just made the decision, you tried a Flutter prototype app at your company and it works, and now you're it's suddenly your job to get 10 people moved over to working on a Flutter application. How do you know that the decisions you're making are correct and things like that? We will have a guide by the end of this year that covers some of those fundamental concepts, which is a little bit new territory for us because people are going to disagree with some of the things we say, I'm sure. And we'll just have to navigate that as we go. But I think the idea that we need more clearly stated opinions is correct. So,
how broad are you going on that architecture? I mean, if you look at the Android architecture, it's great actually. They go into first, they give you a very good guidance, and it goes very deep into how you should architecture the app.
That's one of the models we're using actually. Okay, the
cool.
current Android architecture guide.
I like it. It's a good guide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I think it is now lunchtime. Do I have that right, Andrew? Okay. I am declaring lunch. So thank you all.